This is Viterbi Voices.
Coming to you from the University of Southern California, Viterbi School of Engineering.
We're here to give you the inside scoop on research, classes, student life, and so much more.
All of these shared by students, faculty, alumni, and other members of the USC community.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Viterbi Voices podcast. My name is Cameron. I'm one of your co-hosts. I'm a senior studying computer science and business administration here at the Viterbi School of Engineering, and I'm flying solo. I'm without my co-host, Paula Desma, the senior director of undergraduate admissions for the Viterbi School. So you've just got me here today, but I'm not quite alone, as I do have another guest with me who's bringing her own self-produced podcast. So, Sydney, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. I'm Sydney. I'm a junior studying chemical engineering at Viterbi.
Awesome, Sydney. So what's your episode about that you're bringing us today?
Yeah, so this episode is about managing an internship with school. And so I know a lot of people get summer internships, but people also get opportunities to get one during the school year. And with being a full-time student, that is a lot. And then on top of that, doing extracurriculars and managing your time and self-care. So I basically talked to 3 other engineering students, and we talked about how they time manage their schedule.
Awesome. Very cool. And I know this might be an interesting episode since I know for myself, I did internships during the summer, but I didn't necessarily know about internships during the school year, co-ops, or working and doing school. So it'd be pretty interesting to take a listen and hear just about their own experiences. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get way to the main episode.
All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another Viterbi Student Podcast episode. My name is Sydney Fiorentino, and today I will be hosting a roundtable related to managing school with an internship. So to start off with a bit of background about myself, I'm a junior studying chemical engineering and originally from San Francisco. Currently, I'm doing a part-time internship with Dermalogica in their packaging engineering department, as well as taking 12 units. I'm also currently here with 3 other engineering students. So would you guys like to introduce yourselves, starting with Jordan?
Hey everyone, I'm Jordan. I am a junior studying computer science here at USC. Currently, I'm taking 16 units, but I'm also interning at the Ellison Institute for Transformative Medicine on their artificial intelligence team. And essentially, what my company does is they try to research interdisciplinary methods to cure cancer.
Hi, everyone. My name is Taylor. I am a sophomore studying computer science and business administration here at USC. I'm taking 18 units, not 18, I'm so sorry. I'm taking 16 units. And I am right now interning for a biotech startup called Frontier Records, where we provide health solutions for low-resource health centers across the globe.
Hi, everybody. I'm Carl. I am a junior chemical engineering student and a materials engineering master's student. And in my sophomore year, I took 14 units while working at SoCal Gas in their transmission engineering department.
Awesome. So just to dive into the topic of internships, can you all describe how you first found your internship? And I know some of you kind of explained what role you did, but I guess kind of go into what tasks you did a part of the internship.
Yeah, I guess I can kick us off here. So I actually found out about my internship through a student organization that I participated in. So I'm part of CASE++, which is an acronym for the Center for Artificial Intelligence in Society student branch. And essentially, a past member had interned at the Ellison Institute before. And so she posted in our Slack channel about this new internship opening. And I thought it was a really good fit, just given the fact that I'm interested in biomedical research in addition to computer science and artificial intelligence. So I ended up applying, and the great thing was because they had known, they had a previous intern from CASE++, they were really open to accepting me into their artificial intelligence team. So yeah, that's how I found out about my internship. But I guess my daily task is I'm a research intern, so I research methods to detect cancer from using this I guess technique called digital pathology. And so essentially, digital pathology is when you take pictures of stained tissue samples. So a doctor might extract a tumor sample and then slice it up into really thin pieces and image them. And so then we can use artificial intelligence to detect whether or not that tumor I guess is cancerous or benign. And so that's a little bit of what I do. So I work like to solve that problem.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And also, for my internship, I also found it through a club, just like you. I found mine through Society of Cosmetic Chemists in like a newsletter. So that's just super cool that you can just get those opportunities from clubs. Taylor, what about you?
Yeah, so my experience was a little unique. I ended up like last minute deciding I wanted to go to a showcase for one of the engineering classes here. Cindy, you might have to remind me what the class is. I believe it's the CE 486. It's one of our like global innovation classes where people develop startups all throughout the year. And so I went to their presentation night just to see on their mid-semester progress how everything was going. And I really resonated with the company there and really enjoyed just learning about what they do. It aligned with my passions with what I want to do with my computer science degree long term. So I ended up talking to the company afterwards. It turned out one of my friends also worked there. And from there, they informed me that they were doing an internship for the next cycle. So I ended up interviewing, and here I am. And I'd say day to day, honestly, the first couple of weeks has been onboarding tasks, getting familiar with the application platform, and learning about what systems that they use. And going forward right now, I'm actually working on their data analytics. We're looking at transferring our platform from one application to another. So really transferring all that information, improving it, making it more efficient. So I'm really emphasizing on that data analytics side and how we can best show the data to our clients and make it more useful.
Ooh, that's super cool, super savvy. I don't know the class you were I don't know the class you were talking about, but sounds like a good class.
Yeah, my bad. It's like the one for the global innovations minor. It was the one we were just talking about, Jordan, actually.
I think it's CE 460. It's like a capstone. I guess for listeners, this class is known for like sending USC students to like various parts of the world. Like I think this last year they ended up going to Romania to talk to like the Ukrainian refugees. I'm not in the class, but I know people in the class. I've heard it's very fun.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And yeah, the whole goal of the class is really using engineering to solve global issues. And so they make that really accessible for the students, and the outcomes are honestly amazing.
Nice, nice. And Carl, what about you?
Yeah, so I found my internship through an alumni event at the school. They were just having I guess like an alumni tabling event, and I went and talked to a bunch of different companies, and one of the companies was SoCal Gas. They were looking for a year-round intern. So I just interviewed. I had some work experience in a research lab prior to that, but otherwise, I was definitely pretty new to the whole world of like industry engineering. So yeah, that's how I got the position. Just kind of went into it cold. My job was mostly to look at the very large, like high pressure gas lines that supply all of Southern California, and make sure that they're safe and sustainable, and do a lot of projects that will prevent leaks or repair leaks or find any potential safety concerns in new designs, as well as replacements and upgrades of old designs. So that's generally what I did for about 7 months while I was there, was just writing and running simulations, and making procedures for field workers, and generally just overseeing operations.
That's very, very cool. Did any of you have to work in like Excel and do a lot of Excel work?
I didn't necessarily have to do Excel work, but working with data, like we work with a similar type situation where we're sorting the information usually given in either an Excel type document.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I have a lot of Excel work. Why did you choose to have an internship during the school year versus like summer? Is it kind of just how like the opportunity came to you and you wanted to, and it was like strictly for the spring semester? Like, how did that happen?
I can answer this question. I'd say that there were a few, I guess, main factors. One was that I guess back when I was a sophomore, I had heard that it was kind of maybe a little bit easier to get like a during the school year internship, and I was definitely worried about like my whether or not I would be able to get an internship that summer. And I stumbled across the SoCal Guest one while looking for a summer internship. So it was mostly just kind of a thing that came up like as the opportunity arose for me. But I definitely thought that it was a good idea because I realized, I guess, once the opportunity was there, that I would be able to get a lot more experience than someone who had just done a summer internship. So it was definitely from that regard, like it was definitely very beneficial to get, you know, 7 to 8 months of experience as opposed to like 10 weeks that you would get in a summer internship. And that can be very valuable on a resume and just in terms of your skill set in general.
Yeah, and I guess for me, I have like a slightly different story. So, for me personally, I'm very interested in pursuing a research career as after undergrad. So potentially going to grad school and becoming, and getting on like a faculty track. So for me, my summers are dedicated to my personal research, right? So it's a lot of working in my lab, working in like academia. And so during the school year, though, while I'm still working in the lab, I do have a little bit more time because I'm not working 40 hours a week in the lab. So I want to do some sort of like industry related internships so that I could experience what it was like to work in industry. So like I would have a chance to like, I guess, work in a research position that's not related to say an academic lab at USC. So I kind of like, I guess, happened to just stumble across this opportunity and was like, you know, I should try it. It's like in a field that I'm not very familiar with and in like an environment I'm also like very new to. So that's why I decided to do an internship or at least an industry internship during the school year instead of over the summer.
Yeah, and I gotta say something that I really enjoyed about doing my internship now is that the fact that like Jordan, it really did just align with my long-term goals. For me, I did already have a summer internship secured, so it wasn't really an option to move it off later. But the fact that I really found a company that aligned with what I want to do, you know, I want to work in bridging healthcare inequality, but in working with tech from that aspect. So, and I found a company doing just that. It just seemed like the perfect setup that I almost couldn't say no to getting the opportunity to develop my skills in that manner.
Nice. And that sounds great for all of you guys. So how did you guys like manage your school time with your internship time, your downtime? Did you still have time for extracurriculars?
Well, at least for me, I'm still in my internship. I think essentially it's kind of like a bit of a part-time job at this point where I end up going in a couple days a week. So I have like days where I go into lab and days where I go into the Ellison Institute. So I think being very consistent and like sectioning off certain days of the week where it's like, oh, after class, I go here or go there has been really helpful with managing my time. Then it's kind of like I just treat it a bit like an extra class. I don't have to worry about like every single week being different. I can expect exactly when my work is. And so then it's like easier, at least for me, to schedule I guess like time to do class or even time to do work for Case++, which is the student organization I'm most involved in, as if it's consistent.
Yeah, I say honestly, the balance is still being learned. Like, luckily, I chose something that was a good fit for my schedule as far as most of my work is asynchronous and virtual. Occasionally, like there is the regular, like I know at this time I'll have this meeting on Mondays, and at this time I'll have onboarding. But other than that, the work is pretty flexible. And alongside that, all of my coworkers are full-time employees, actually. So since we're working for a nonprofit, a lot of this is unpaid labor. So we all kind of understand that we have completely separate lives outside of the company. So it makes it really easy to work around that and figure out where we can all work together and get things done, essentially.
Yeah, I would definitely say that managing your time is going to be super important. And if you were to do it during the year internship, I wouldn't really consider that something doable if you're taking like 18 or 20 credits. You would definitely be you would need to expect that you're going to be doing this when you're planning your course plan. When I did it, I did it during my sophomore year, so I did have a good deal of free time, like in general, that I could replace with work. So I was able to like still do leadership positions in clubs and such. But during the year school internship, especially one that's going to be like 15 or more hours a week, is definitely going to eat into a bit of your free time. So that is something you would need to expect.
Wait,
Yeah,
Paul,
I think
did you have to? Oh, sorry.
No, you go for it.
Wait, did you have to commute to SoCal Gas?
I went in person sometimes.
Oh,
But for the most part it was asynchronous.
yeah, at least for me, I feel like the commute's the toughest part to kind of schedule around because there's like some meetings I have to go in for, and so then I have to pad like whatever the meeting time is with my commute time, which could be like upwards of like 45 minutes.
Yeah, commuting.
Yeah, LA traffic. Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah, go for it. Go for it.
No, I was just gonna say LA traffic and commuting. Like, now that sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah, I also have to commute some days to mine. And it's in Carson, so it takes like 30 minutes to an hour in the morning, which isn't too bad, but still, I'm also not a morning person. And speaking of commuting, did you guys ever have to miss lectures or classes in order to get to your internship?
No.
Yeah,
Yeah. No.
I personally
Well,
didn't have to because I scheduled around it. Or I just like I think at least with my experience, like most internships and stuff, they are like, okay, prioritize school. Like you need to graduate before anything. So I would say like I never had to personally mix lectures, but yeah.
sure. I will say in general though, like when it comes to like scheduling around the day, it was just like making sure I protected what was important. Like if I know I'm not gonna miss lecture, I'm not gonna say, oh yeah, I'm free at that time, do a quick 15-minute call or anything like that. And just being vocal about, and being honest about when I'm available and when I'm not is so important too. So you don't have all those conflicts as well.
Yeah, I would definitely say like the main reason why I never had to miss lecture is because at the start of the semester I designed my schedule so that it would work perfectly. But if you were to like, not put time into designing your schedule beforehand, it's a possibility you might have to miss something.
Yeah, but I also think it depends on where you work because at
Yeah.
least with the people I've worked with, if you're like, hey, I have like two midterms this week, I like need to take a week off, they're like, okay, take the time, like school is more important. But I think like that's kind of what makes say like a regular part-time job different than say like an internship because like the internship is meant to be like a learning experience on top of your coursework. But I think that at least again in my experience, people care much more about like you're also working towards graduation instead of just I guess working for the company.
Yeah, and so as for like, I guess planning your schedules, would you guys each give kind of like an example of what your weekly schedule would be like? So for me, like I have classes Monday, Wednesday, so then I'd go to work Tuesday, Thursday, and do remote Friday. Like, can you explain like your schedule breakdown?
Yeah, for sure. I'd say mine, similarly, it's like I had a heavy class day and then a lighter one. So right now my Monday, Wednesday, Fridays are pretty light. I normally only have one class, Wednesdays are two, but that's when I know I want to get the bulk of my work done for my internship. Because Tuesday, Thursday is when I have three classes and I like three like hour and a half to 2 hour long classes. So I know most of those days I'll just be focusing on going to classes and office hours. But yeah, I'd say like that pretty much it has been how it worked. And then also just blocking in that time of like, okay, I know these hours I'm gonna work on my internship regularly has also helped.
Yeah, I guess I can go next. Similar to like both Taylor and Sydney, I have like heavy class days on 2 days of the week, so Monday, Wednesday. So, and I only have one class on Tuesday, Thursdays, and Fridays. And so on Tuesdays after class, I end up going into lab. On Thursdays after class, I go to the Ellison Institute. And then on Fridays all day, depending if there's like an intern meeting, I'll go into the Ellison Institute. If there's not, I might like have to do some other work. It like depends if I go in or if it's asynchronous.
Carl, what about
Uh,
you?
yeah, I mean, I can't say I remember my schedule too well from when I was doing that, but it was definitely kind of just like I have one or two classes a day, and then once those classes were over, I would grab lunch and then go to work. Or if the classes were later in the day, which I think was the case for my Thursday, during that semester, I would work the mornings and then grab lunch and then go to class and then not work the rest of the day. And then generally I would work the same blocks each week, and wouldn't really vary them much unless I really had to.
Mhm. And so since you all have or had an internship during the past few years throughout college, would you say what's the best years to have an internship? Like, would you, if you were a freshman, would you still want to have a like during the school year internship, or do you think it's better to wait till like sophomore, junior, senior year?
I think it really depends on the person. Like, at least for my field, there's a bit of a barrier to entry in which like you need like tangible, like technical skills to participate in. That being said, like some internships are meant for people without a ton of like, say, coding or technical knowledge. But like there's this balance, right? There's this balance of whether or not you have the technical skills to contribute to an internship and be really productive. But then also like as you get older and progress through college, you have like more and more commitments, like between like, oh, I have more friends, hence I want to hang out with them, or maybe I have harder classes, or I have leadership positions in clubs. So if we're thinking about like if you have the most time, yeah, freshman year and sophomore year, you're going to have the most time because your classes aren't as difficult. You're likely not an e-board member, like or like executive board member or leadership at a club. That might be different depending on the person. Whereas for junior year, your classes are going to be harder. And you might have some more like leadership commitments. But that being said, like you're also going to have the technical skills to like work in more interesting areas. So I guess like for people that are like freshmen that are thinking about getting school year internships, I would definitely caution just because I think it's very okay to be gentle with yourself your freshman year, especially because you're like taking classes and it's new schedule and like new to college. But I think sophomore and junior year would be optimal depending on like course loads and other commitments.
Yeah, I gotta say, looking back, I don't know if I recommend it freshman year. I feel like that's when you're still figuring things out, new campus, friends, everything getting situated, even within your major. I guess being in my sophomore year and doing it, I'm gonna say right now is the best time for me. I feel like it's like, okay, now I'm ready to pursue some passions, grow my technical skills, and learn more professionally. But like Jordan said, it really just depends on the person and what's going to be most fitting for your schedule. Because at the end of the day, school is the main goal. So if you're, for whatever reason, sophomore year taking those 20-unit semesters, I probably wouldn't recommend that to you now. Versus if you know this is a time where you can fit it in, maybe your semester's a little bit lighter, and this is something you want to do, then I'd say go for it.
Yeah, I would definitely say very strongly that I took it at the right time during my sophomore year. But when you're a freshman, you're not always, so sure that the major you're in is the major you want to be in long term. So I mean, you could end up sinking costs that you're not going by doing an internship that you might not want to go into that field later. So I'd definitely say sophomore year would be better than junior year, at least in my experience, because junior year is when the difficulty of these classes really starts to ramp up. So I mean, I personally wouldn't want to be doing an internship right now, being in like all 400 level classes. So yeah, I would definitely say sophomore year is a great time to do it because you have quite a lot of free time, but you at that point should be pretty confident that you want to be in the major that you're in.
Yeah, I definitely agree with all of your points. And do you guys think it's like a necessity? Like, do you have to have an internship during the school year? Like, do you think everyone throughout college should have an internship at least one semester?
I
Or
don't think so. Oh, I didn't mean to cut you off. Were you going to keep going?
no, go for it.
Oh, I was just going to say no. Like, I mean, I guess it depends on your goal, what you're looking to get an outcome. But if your outcome is just experience, there's so many other ways you can do that. Like, there's research, clubs, personal projects. Like, an internship isn't like the only way. And it's not even going to guarantee to help you professionally, but it is one way. It's one way of many ways. And you kind of get to design your own student experience the way you want to. So if you want to pursue or focus on other areas, don't feel the need to do an internship. It's just something that some others choose to. It's like whether you choose to do one club or another.
I totally agree with Taylor. I guess like the best way to think about this is ask yourself, what do I want to get out of this internship? Or if I were to do an internship, what do I want to get out of it? If the only answer is like, oh, I just want to pad my resume, then there's like other ways to pad your resume without doing an internship. But if you're like, if you have the opportunity to intern at a company that you're really passionate about, and I guess like they only have internships during the school year, then yeah, that's when I feel like it would be more understandable if you accepted that internship position instead of waiting for the summer.
I mean, I would actually like semi disagree. I definitely say that an internship is by far, if you don't want to go into research, an internship is by far the best way to increase the strength of your resume. And I'd say like once you have about like, I don't know, 10 months of work experience, like the clubs that you're in tend not to matter. Maybe that's just me speaking from like the industries that I've been in, but from talks with recruiters, it doesn't really seem like many recruiters care much about your clubs once you have a good deal of internship or work experience. So I would definitely say that it's not necessary, but it's an excellent way to set yourself up for success. I know that in at least amongst my peers, like it was definitely much easier for the people that did during school internships to find summer internships for the following year. It was a pretty easy for me to get my summer internship for this upcoming summer. And I don't think it would have been that easy for me had I not had quite a bit of work experience. I would definitely say an in-school internship is a great way to show employers that you can pick up information quickly and that you can remain dedicated for a long period of time. So I would definitely say it's an amazing way to increase the strength of your resume as well as pick up some skills that you definitely wouldn't acquire in school or in clubs.
Yeah. Let me just add that honestly, like that is very true. There is a lot of professional growth that Carl said. So like I totally agree with from that point too. And also I just want to highlight that there's other ways of like professional internship adjacent experiences without it being like, 6 months, like going somewhere, that type of stuff. Some things some of my friends are getting into right now are like externships. Sometimes there's like mini internships that are shorter, a little bit lower commitment. So also like I just wanted to highlight those opportunities so that if time commitment or other things were barriers to doing an internship, but it was something you really wanted to do, that there might be other ways that you can get that professional growth as well.
Yeah, I mean, I would recommend an internship over a co-op, just because a co-op you're generally expected to like not be in school at all, really, or maybe only be doing a couple of classes, and that can really set you back in terms of like your graduation date. So like that's something you really, really, really want, like need to know that you want to do. Whereas an internship, like you can kind of go into it like not being 100% sure and like still be fine because like you won't be pushing back any dates.
Carl, how would you describe a co-op?
I mean, at least what I've seen, is a co-op's more of like a actual like summer internship-esque type of thing where you aren't in school, you're working pretty much full time, and you're like at the location that you need to be. And usually a co-op will go like spring and then summer or summer and then fall. And it's basically just like an extended like full time or like a lot of the time, like more than a part-time type of ordeal. So yeah, I'd say a co-op's definitely like more involved, but like you're going to be sacrificing stuff. Like a certain amount of courses. Like you wouldn't be able to do a co-op with 14 units like I did with my internship. You might be able to do like 4 units, but that could even be pushing it because you probably won't be on campus for a co-op. So whereas like an internship, you can just like sacrifice one class, which you probably had a slot to do anyways. And you can just like do an internship regardless. I do not know what an externship is though. I've never heard that term before.
Okay, so it might be more of a recent thing that's been happening, or maybe something that's, yes, computer science specific, but it's essentially when people are more shadowing roles in a company. You might do like research just to learn more about what it would be like to actually work at said company, but you're not actually producing something that contributes to what the company makes. So it's kind of a more removed view of getting that idea of what people do, what the work is like, and how the company processes, but without being a physical member of a team.
Oh, I also wanted to highlight just because like Taylor and Carl's responses were really different. I think it's also due to the norms of the field because like Taylor and I come from computer science, and I think the barrier to entry to like contribute to projects is relatively low just because like most people have laptops and access to the internet, and hence you can write code and do projects. Whereas I think chemical engineering, correct me if I'm wrong, it's much more difficult to get that kind of like work experience.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really want to speak for you guys, but at least through my eyes, I would say that getting a during the school internship would probably be a little bit more important for chemies. The reason being is like you're not gonna pick up like enough skills to be incredibly useful in a chemical engineering position over the course of like 10 weeks. You might start becoming useful by the end of your summer internship, but I know that like when I was doing my my internship in my sophomore year, it took a couple months for me to build up all the skills that were necessary, because it's just such a wide subject that all of the stuff that I had learned that like at that point wasn't really like applicable, just because you know, like there's so many different ways to look at chemical engineering, and it's not like, I mean, it's not like I knew a language per se. Like, it was mostly just like, are you able to implement these like high level ideas, I guess. So yeah, there's definitely a much higher barrier to entry, I guess, as you said.
Oh yeah, I definitely think it depends on like your major, as you said, and then also kind of what route you want to take. Like if you want to go more into research, if you want to go more into industry and all of that. And then my last question for you is what's the best thing you have learned from doing an internship during the school year?
I'd say ask questions, but like, no, I don't know. I wish I could come up with something super unique, but it's really just been, understanding that it's okay not to know everything. And unlike in a classroom environment where it's like not first time something's said, but you're expected to take notes and process information really quickly. Like it's okay to ask. It's the whole point of experiential learning is that you're learning by doing and not just purely in a classroom setting. So shifting that focus that while you're doing, it's okay to ask for help in the process, reach out to your coworkers and develop those relationships because it's very collaborative. And that was just a little bit different than a classroom setting, and getting used to that initially. Like when I was assigned tasks for my internship, I would think, oh, I got to figure this out all by myself. No one's there to help me. But the whole point of being on a team and being an intern is for the company to support you and to help you learn so that next time you can learn it faster and pick it up faster. So just giving myself that grace and learning how to reach out and to collaborate in that professional environment has been so important. And even just growing relationships with my coworkers has taught me what it is like to be in a workplace and how I actually look forward to it. I've been having a pretty good time.
I guess I can talk a little bit about this. So I last summer did a tech internship at Oracle, and then immediately afterwards I started my like during the school year internship at the Ellison Institute. And so I think the summer internship will teach you how to do and complete one very specific task, mostly just because they're a lot shorter. Whereas I want to say a full year like internship where you have like months or even like say longer than months, depending on how long your contract lasts, teaches you how to develop more complex projects and more complex, I guess, ideas. So like, I guess for Oracle, I implemented a testing suite, whereas for the Ellison Institute, not only have I like begun like work on a actual research project, I've also like optimized their pipelines and like was able to participate on multiple projects that were already ongoing. So I guess like the best thing that like I learned was just the breadth of knowledge that I learned. So at the Ellison Institute, like I learned a lot about like cancer medicine. I learned a lot about how to use like cloud computing, which is something that I would have not been able to use otherwise, just because sometimes that can get very expensive if you're not part of a company. And I also learned how to just better manage my time. Because I had to work at a company in addition to school, extracurriculars, like, and everything else. I had to like, I guess, learn how to juggle all these different projects throughout the school year. Sorry, that was a bit all over the place, but yeah, I guess I don't know. I wanted to add in the extra point about how like during the year internship's very different than say a summer internship.
Yeah, I agree with that too. For me, I would also say that like, just like you, time management was like a huge thing, and like using Google Calendar and like blocking out sections, even time for commute and stuff, is probably what I learned the most. Carl, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely say that one of the biggest things I learned in my internship was that you're not really expected to be perfect, especially not when you're going in. I feel like when you're coming out of like an engineering classes and you're kind of expecting something similar to those, like in school, you're really always expected perfection, right? Like to get an A, you have to be, almost perfect on everything. Whereas like in the real world, like messing up is okay because I mean, I don't know about with the CS jobs, but in public utilities, like if you make a mistake, there's still like six more people for this project to go through, so someone's gonna catch it, and no one's really gonna get mad at you because everyone makes mistakes. Um, but I guess another thing is to circle back to what Jordan said. Yeah, I definitely say that doing this internship like over the course of the school year definitely gave me access to some projects that I wouldn't have otherwise been able to do had I only done a summer internship. I was definitely able to do a lot of much bigger projects that had a lot more safety concerns or a lot more different types of calculations or processes involved with it. And it was only after I had built up trust with my team and my team had built up trust in me was I able to lead those projects instead of just being like a small player in those projects. So yeah, I definitely say the two things I learned mostly were that stick around and you'll get bigger projects, and two, is you're not expected to be perfect like you are in school.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And that's an awesome ending. And with that, that's the end of the roundtable. I want to thank you all for coming in and chatting with me about your experience interning while also being a full-time student. So thank you, Taylor, Carl, and Jordan.
And welcome back, Sydney. This is actually a really cool episode. Thank you so much for bringing this to us. Can you talk about, I guess, something that you kind of found surprising or interesting, or just something you kind of really want to drive home from the episode?
I think if you want to get an internship during the school year, but you're like kind of worried about like how it's going to affect your school life or your own personal life, it's definitely doable. And I will say that with time management and for me, it's Google Calendar, like managing every single hour, breaking into chunks. It's definitely doable if you really want to do an internship and don't let like the amount of schoolwork and the amount of time it takes like stop you.
For sure. I definitely ditto the Google Calendar point. I feel like as college students, we kind of live and die by Google Calendar. Like it's literally to the point where even if I'm going out somewhere doing something fun, I have to put in my Google Calendar to the point where if it's not on there, I don't remember that it's happening and I don't go to it. People get mad. I'm like, hey, that's just the calendar. Would you ever do an intern?
Exactly. With being a college student, there's a lot of meetings I forget about, and then I get reminded on Google Calendar and I'm like, oh, I didn't even know I had that today. Like, so it's definitely plus it's fun to color code.
Exactly. I try to do color code for like class and then extracurriculars and then study time and then going out. The only thing that's like terrifying is like when you're somewhere just like random and you get the default 10-minute before notification Google Calendar and you're like, crap, I have to scramble home to get to the Zoom class to like get to the other side of campus. That's the only thing that's a little terrifying. Thanks again, Sydney, for bringing this episode to light. I know this can definitely be of use to any students out there, kind of looking at planning what they might want to do in college and realizing that there's other opportunities, such as working an internship during the school year that might not always be talked about. And it can be really helpful just planning out your college experience. Thank you guys for listening as usual. And we'll be back next week with another episode of the Viterbi Voices podcast.